What if I told you that this video is an act of digital alchemy? You didn't arrive here by accident. Something deep within you, that inner fire that has always burned, has guided you to this moment. In the universe governed by hermetic laws, chance is just a name we give to synchronicity when we forget to understand its meaning. Every thought you've had, every unanswered question, every sleepless night searching for answers has led you to this exact point. The KYBALION is a mirror. And if these words resonate with you, it's because you recognize a truth you have always known, but that the world has made you forget. You're not here to learn. You're here to remember. In the next few minutes, I will reveal how to apply the 7 hermetic principles to transform chaos into order, make the universe respond to your inner state, and turn every synchronicity into a language you can decode. But first, a pact among initiates. Like this video right now with the seal of Hermes, that thumbs up is not just a simple gesture, it is a symbol of recognition. Then I will know that you are not just a passive viewer, but a seeker ready to receive the fire of knowledge. Long before modern science, even before religions formed as we know them today, there was a name whispered among priests, philosophers, and initiates. Hermes Trismegistus, thrice great, thrice master, thrice initiated into the deepest mysteries of creation. He is the meeting point of 2 ancient cultures. In Egypt, he was Thoth, the god of wisdom, writing, and time. In Greece, he became Hermes, the messenger between worlds, the patron of hidden knowledge and divine communication. The fusion of these 2 figures gave rise to an archetype so powerful that its influence has survived through the ages, hidden within symbols, numbers, and coded words. Hermes was considered the founder of the first school of mysteries in Egypt, a temple where knowledge was not taught directly, but was experienced by those prepared to receive it. Your teachings were so secret, so tightly sealed, that they gave rise to the term we still use today, hermetic knowledge, a wisdom hidden away, inaccessible to the casual observer, reserved only for the initiated, like a spiritual vault safeguarding the laws governing the invisible. About 35 works were attributed to it, many of which were lost in the fires that consumed the Library of Alexandria. But a small portion survived, and it was that spark that ignited the flame for a work that would span centuries. The KYBALION. Written in 1908 by authors who chose to remain anonymous, signing only as the 3 initiates. The KYBALION, appearing as an ordinary book, is actually a treatise, a coded compendium that distills the entire essence of original Hermeticism. Though it may seem recent, its foundations are ancient. The language has adapted to the modern world, but the content pulses with the same energy as the hieroglyphs carved into the stones of the Temple of Thoth. This oral and vibrational tradition was never meant to be popular. That's why few have heard of it, and even fewer have truly understood it. All is mind, the universe as living thought, and it's precisely because of this silent legacy, transmitted almost invisibly, that the first principle revealed in the KYBALION carries such profound weight: mentalism. According to this law, everything that exists, absolutely everything, is mind. The entire universe with its planets, galaxies, natural cycles, human emotions, ideas, and memories is a living thought vibrating within the consciousness of the all. This is not a metaphor. For the initiated, it is literal. You are not looking at the universe from the outside, you are inside it. More than anything, you are within the mind of God. Imagine a mind so vast, so powerful, that everything it thinks materializes as reality. This is the essence of the all, the primordial consciousness, the source. The Hindus called it Mahatma, the cosmic mind. The Gnostics called it Pleroma. The Hermeticists simply called it the all. But what does this mean in practice? It means that the reality you're experiencing right now is directly shaped by the quality of your thoughts. Everything begins within. Nothing moves out there without first moving in here. The mind is the matrix. Your perception, your mental patterns, your deepest beliefs, all of this serves as the brush with which you paint your existence. It's as if we are living in a simulation, but one created by spiritual laws. The most remarkable part is that you actively participate in this creation. Your thoughts, emotions, intentions, and vibrational states directly influence the events around you. This truth is the foundation of everything the ancient masters taught. That's why Buddha said that suffering arises from the mind. That's why Jesus said faith can move mountains. And that's why Hermes revealed that everything is mental. Modern quantum physics is beginning to align with this idea. The famous observer effect shows how the behavior of particles changes based on the presence of an observing consciousness. This is just one of many clues that the mind influences matter. So if the universe is mind and you are a spark of that supreme mind, what's stopping you from consciously shaping your life? And when you start to understand that everything is mind, that reality is shaped from the inside out, a question arises. Why do things seem to happen so randomly? Why do some people suffer so much while others live life with apparent ease? The answer lies in what the KYBALION reveals in clear terms. Everything happens according to a law. There are no true accidents. What we call luck, coincidence, or fate is actually just a spiritual law we have yet to recognize. The universe is not random chaos. It's a perfect symphony governed by 7 universal laws. And these laws don't require your belief to function, just as gravity doesn't stop working if you don't believe in it. The hermetic laws are constantly at work in your life, even if you're unaware of them. One of the most important is the law of cause and effect. Everything you are experiencing today is a direct consequence of causes set in motion in the past. Not only actions, but thoughts, emotions, and vibrations you've maintained over time. This is karma. This is subtle physics. This is hermeticism in its purest form. To clearly illustrate this principle, I'd like to share a short story that perfectly represents it. In a village surrounded by mountains, there lived an old gardener known for his calmness and wisdom. Every day he tended to his plants with great patience, even when the sun scorched or the rain threatened to destroy his garden. One day, a young man from the village, frustrated by his own failures, asked the old man why his life seemed so difficult, while he appeared to live in peace. The old man smiled and said, "Come early tomorrow morning, I want to show you something." The next morning, they took a seed to the top of a hill. The old man asked the young man to plant it and return every day to water it. At first, nothing happened. After weeks, a small sprout appeared. The young man started to smile, but on a stormy day, the wind uprooted the sprout. Frustrated, the young man exclaimed, "See, nothing ever works out the way it should." The old man calmly replied, "Do you expect to grow an oak tree with the patience of a flower? That was just one cause among millions. Your life is the sum of all the seeds you've planted, whether you were aware of it or not. Some sprout quickly. Others take years. Some you forgot and buried, but no seed escapes the law." This simple story captures the essence of the law of cause and effect. You are not at the mercy of invisible forces messing with your life. You are experiencing the effects of causes that you have already set in motion or accepted unconsciously. Everything you radiate, think, feel, desire, or reject all comes back to you as experience, rhythm, and return. The path isn't linear, and it is precisely when we understand that everything we experience is the result of causes triggered by ourselves that we begin to see the logic behind the ups and downs of our journey. However, even with this understanding, there are moments when everything seems to fall apart. You take one step forward, and it feels like you're taking 2 steps back. The feeling of regression can be frustrating. Yet this too is governed by one of the 7 laws, the law of rhythm. This law teaches us that everything in life moves like a pendulum. Everything flows, everything has its ebb and flow. Emotions, energy, relationships, finances, health, spirituality. There's a constant oscillation, sometimes subtle, sometimes intense, but it never stops. Nothing rises or falls forever, just as the sea has its tides, as day turns into night, and as winter gives way to spring, your life also goes through inevitable cycles. These cycles do not mean failure. They are part of the sacred mechanics of the universe. The financial market itself, for example, is a clear example of this law in action. Experienced analysts know that continuous growth is an illusion. There will always be moments of correction. The key is not to panic in the valleys and not to be deceived by the peaks. This is the rhythm. And here is an even deeper insight. Plato said that the soul evolves in a spiral. This means that although it may feel like you're returning to the same point, you are no longer in the same position as before. You're revisiting that point from a new level of consciousness. It's like climbing a mountain in a spiral. You pass the same corners, see the same landscapes, but each time from a higher vantage point. What once deeply moved you now barely affects you. What once seemed like the end is now just part of the journey. Regression is, then, an illusion. It's simply the curve of the spiral of your own transformation. See how this changes everything. When you accept the rhythm, you stop fighting the cycles. You begin using phases of introspection to dive deep and phases of expansion to consciously manifest. The secret is not to avoid movement, but to learn to dance with it. And if the rhythm shows us that everything oscillates, polarity reveals that everything also has two sides of the same essence. Life is not made of absolute opposites, but of variations in frequency within the same vibrational spectrum. What we call cold and hot, for example, are not different substances, but simply different intensities of the same phenomenon. Temperature. The same goes for emotions like fear and love, sadness and joy, chaos and order. These seemingly opposing pairs are connected by an invisible bridge, their vibrational frequency. The finer the vibration, the greater its expression. Matter vibrates slowly, which is why it seems solid, dense, and limited. When vibration speeds up, matter turns into energy. It becomes light even faster, and faster still, spirit. At the highest level, this vibration merges with the self, which we call God. Here lies the secret of transmutation. You don't need to stop being who you are or try to eliminate your shadow. You just have to raise the vibration of what already exists within you. Fear can transform into courage. Attachment can become conscious love. Anger can turn into transformative action. And pain can serve as a catalyst for awakening. This is the essence of true alchemy, not turning lead into physical gold, but transmuting internal states, shifting vibration from a lower state to a higher one without denying the nature of what is being transformed. Just as an alchemist works with fire, time, and the intensity of the flame to create the elixir, the practitioner of hermetic wisdom learns to observe their inner states and acts with the intention of raising their own frequency. This is inner alchemy. This is vibrational mastery. This is awakening. And at this stage in the journey, something starts to happen, silently yet powerfully within you. A change that's almost imperceptible, but deeply transformative. As you apply the hermetic principles and cultivate the practice of internal transmutation, you become more self-aware. With this new awareness, you realize that what you once called your life purpose may have just been an invitation, a ball tossed forward by your soul, not as a final destination, but as a tool the universe used to move you. How many times have you pursued something with all your energy, believing it was the peak of your mission, only to find once you reached it that it no longer made sense? This happens to everyone on the path, and it's not a mistake. Hermes Trismegistus said, "The path reveals the seeker." This means you don't need to know everything before you begin. The veil lifts as you walk. You find yourself through exploration. Every desire, every goal, every dream that once pulsed within you was an exact reflection of your consciousness at that time. And when your consciousness changes, so do your desires. This is why many dreams fade before they come to life, not because you failed, but because you changed. The version of you that wanted that thing is no longer in charge. It has been replaced by a new identity, more aware, more connected, more refined. And this is not failure, this is evolution. The purpose, contrary to what is often taught, is not something fixed, unchangeable, or carved in stone. It is alive, it breathes with you, and it shifts as you grow. Imagine standing in an open field, tossing balls ahead of you. You run toward one, stretching to catch it, diving head first. But along the way, another ball appears, maybe brighter, lighter, or more exciting, and naturally, you want to reach for it. The previous ball wasn't wasted. It served its purpose to break you out of inertia, to launch you to the next level. Each of those balls is a sacred moment. They have shaped who you are becoming. They've taught you to trust movement, to embrace the new, to expand your sense of what's possible. The mistake would be to cling to a ball that no longer resonates with your soul, simply out of fear of seeming inconsistent. But what looks like inconsistency is often just a sign of a soul expanding, and maybe a new ball is beginning to appear right now. It could be subtle, a deep restlessness in your chest, a recurring thought, a longing to move to a new city, to change careers, or to study something you'd never considered before. And even if it doesn't make sense yet, even if your mind tries to suppress the impulse, something is there, a new cycle eager to emerge. This is the invitation of awakened consciousness, to realize that purpose isn't a straight line leading to a destination. It's a continuously ascending spiral. With every turn, you see the world from a new perspective. What once seemed important now feels small. This isn't devaluation, it's clarity. You no longer have to blame yourself for changing your mind. You no longer have to feel shame for letting go of an old dream. Every ball you chased was necessary. Every path detour and apparent mistake was actually the right next step, because the goal isn't out there as a trophy to be won. It's within you, revealing itself with each step and every yes you say to your journey. And as long as you keep throwing those balls, as long as you allow yourself to move with curiosity and presence, the path will never stop unfolding. Because purpose isn't about arriving, it's about continuing. And as long as there is movement, there will be meaning. All laws are one, the source code of the universe. As new spheres emerge and your path becomes clearer, you begin to realize that none of this is random. There is a code that connects reality, an invisible pattern that silently weaves everything together, like a spiritual thread linking all the experiences you've had so far. This thread consists of the 7 hermetic laws, and the deeper your understanding of them, the more you see that, ultimately, they are all different expressions of the same wisdom. That's why when you try to grasp one law in isolation, you inevitably find yourself touching upon the others. Speaking about rhythm inevitably leads to discussing polarity. Grasping cause and effect is impossible without recognizing mentalism. It's like trying to separate the threads of a tapestry without unraveling the entire design. Each law is a facet of the whole, each revealing a part of how the universal mind operates. 1. Mentalism is the framework that binds everything together. It states that everything is mind, that everything begins with thought, with creative consciousness. It is the starting point of all things. 2. Correspondence acts as a bridge between worlds, as above so below, as within so without. It allows us to interpret the outer world as reflections of our inner universe. 3. Vibration teaches us that nothing stands still. Everything pulses, moves, and vibrates at some level. This law reveals the dynamic flow of creation. 4. Polarity shows that everything has two sides, two extremes of the same thing, hot and cold, love and fear, light and shadow. This law teaches us to transform, consciously moving from one pole to the other. 5. The law of rhythm reveals that everything moves in cycles. The universe breathes, tides rise and fall, life pulses with highs and lows. This law invites us to flow with acceptance and wisdom through these times. 6. The law of cause and effect shows that nothing happens by chance. Every action generates a reaction. Every choice plants a seed. Reality responds to what you project, consciously or unconsciously. 7. The law of gender teaches that everything contains both the active and receptive principles, the creative impulse and the creative vessel. Life arises when these forces are in harmony. Together, these laws form the foundation of the universe's source code. I am the invisible engine that drives creation. Most people go through life swept along by circumstances, reacting to their effects without realizing they could consciously navigate them. But those who learn to observe these principles in action, who study and live by these patterns with awakened awareness, become the alchemists of their own reality. How can you use the KYBALION to change your reality once and for all? And when the seeker begins to see this great source code that structures reality, a deeper truth emerges. The initiate does not fight against the laws, they dance with them. The KYBALION is clear when it says, "The wise man does not rebel against the law, but understands and uses it." The average person is carried along by it like a log floating downstream. The initiate, however, swims with it, and by doing so, transcends it. Imagine two swimmers in a river with a strong current. The first, unaware of the current, struggles against the force of the water, trying to move forward with sheer brute strength. Soon they become exhausted and are swept back. The second swimmer, however, knows the currents, the bends, the rhythm of the water. They do not fight against it. They observe, understand, and adapt their body to glide smoothly. It looks as if they are flying over the water. This is the difference between living unconsciously and living with awareness of the laws. The first lives in conflict, trying to change the outside world without understanding the inside. The second shifts their frequency and watches as the world transforms around them. When you grasp mentalism, you begin to observe your thoughts. When you understand correspondence, you start to see how external patterns mirror what's inside. When you comprehend rhythm, you stop beating yourself up during low moments and start honoring your upward cycles. True power doesn't come from control, but from alignment. This is the secret of the masters. They don't try to force life, they flow with it. They don't create through effort, but through vibration. And now that you've begun to see all this, here comes the question that changes everything. How do you use the KYBALION to change your reality once and for all? You're not here just to admire ideas. You're here to activate them in your life, and it's possible. You just have to start living according to these laws. Now let's calmly review each of these concepts in a clear and simple way, using real examples you can start applying today. 1. Mentalism. Everything begins in the mind. Your reality is a direct reflection of your dominant thoughts. If you think in scarcity, you experience lack. If you radiate fear, you attract experiences that reinforce it. What to do? Pay attention to your internal dialogue. Start your day with positive affirmations. Visualize the reality you want to live as if it's already happening. Avoid negative conversations and content that bring you down. Practical example. Instead of thinking, "I never have enough money," say, "I create opportunities for prosperity every day." 2. Correspondence. What happens outside mirrors what happens inside. If your relationship feels confusing, look at how your internal dialogue has been. If your home is a mess, maybe your mind is too. What to do? Organize the small things. Take care of your room, your meals, your body. This will be reflected in the bigger picture. Practical example, start by organizing your space before making big decisions. This shifts your vibration and brings clarity. 3. Vibration. Everything vibrates. Everything is frequency. You only attract what matches your vibration. Want love? Emit love. Want peace? Radiate peace. What to do? Raise your frequency through silence, meditation, nature, music, art, laughter, and gratitude. Practical example, keep a gratitude journal and write down 3 things you're thankful for each day. You can shift your frequency in less than 3 minutes. 4. Polarity. Everything has 2 poles. Cold is simply the absence of heat. Hatred is misdirected love. You don't have to eliminate the negative, but rather change its intensity. What to do? Transmute. When you feel anger, channel it into movement, action, or creativity. When you feel fear, observe how it turns into awareness or caution. Practical example, instead of running from sadness, use it as fuel to pursue something more meaningful. 5. Rhythm. Everything has its highs and lows. Nobody vibrates at their best all the time, and that's all right. Accepting your cycles means aligning with nature. What to do? Learn to rest during the lows and act during the highs. Avoid making important decisions in difficult moments. Practical example, on a low-energy day, allow yourself to slow down without feeling guilty. This is true rhythmic wisdom. 6. Cause and effect. Nothing happens by chance. Every action produces a consequence. What you experience today is the result of seeds planted in the past. What should you do? Plant differently now. Change your habits, thoughts, and attitudes. A practical example, if you're constantly stressed, pay attention to your sleep cycles, nutrition, and rest. Small causes, big effects. 7. Gender. Everything contains masculine and feminine principles. The masculine is action, the feminine is intuition. Balancing these forces within you is essential to creating a stable reality. What should you do? Act when it's time to act, and withdraw when it's time to feel. Value intuition as much as planning. Now you know what few understand. True alchemy doesn't happen in laboratories, but in the forging of your consciousness. Every principle from the KYBALION that you discover today is a hammer shaping your reality. But be careful. Knowledge without application is like unrefined gold, shiny but useless. This is your next step. Leave a like with intention. It's not just any like, it's a magical seal that says, I'm ready. Write the 7 laws in the comments. Every shared word creates a ripple in the quantum field. Join the Hermetic School. Sign up because awakening is not a single event, but a journey we take together. The universe has just whispered the first lesson. The next will come precisely when you're ready to receive it. Stad rosa pristina nomina nud tenemos. See you soon.